And we are live, going everywhere. Welcome, everybody, wherever you're streaming or watching the stream from. Today, we've got another special topic. I believe this is Master Chat number 12. It's amazing how fast these things go. So every other Tuesday, we bring together some experts and we talk about some topic and see where it goes. So today's topic, of course, is selling your MSP business. And we've got Michael Contento. He is actually the CEO of a company called Micro Umbrella that recently just sort of merged with another company. I believe it's F12. And we're going to find out about his experience and his journey. So, Michael, first of all, welcome to as our guest.
Yeah, thanks, Julian. It's great to be here, especially when I'm in Florida. So it's enjoying the weather and great time to talk to you guys.
And it looks like you got a bit of a tan too, so it must be warm down there.
It is.
Anyways,
it's definitely beautiful.
And of course, Randall Work has joined me in discussing the topic with Michael. And so, Randall, welcome. Feeling good?
My only tan is for my selfie light, unfortunately. Looking forward to maybe going outdoors one day soon.
Well, you still got the snow to contend with. Anyways, here we go. So we're calling from Toronto, Montreal, and our friend, Neil is still trying to get to us. He's in London, England, so we'll see what's going on there, and he'll join us when he does. And if he doesn't, we'll go on. All right, so Michael, this topic of selling MSP business, I think it's the dream, the playbook of most MSPs, right? Let me put a lot of work into it and sell it one day, make a whole bunch of money, retire to Florida. But Michael, before we go into this, tell me a bit about your journey. How did you start in this game, and how did you get to like Micro Umbrella, and just before you decided, it's time for me to look for a bigger partner or a partner to merge with?
Yeah. So just for accuracy, it wasn't a merger. It was a share acquisition. So I was acquired by F12.
Okay.
I'm essentially still a shareholder and managing partner in F12. Still a very long journey to be in the MSP world, but it was a share acquisition essentially. So my journey started, I was very young. I was 20 years old when I started my Micro Umbrella. I know I only look 25, but that was about 26, 27 years ago. And a fun fact, I was actually the third employee for my Micro Umbrella. I was working somewhere else. I saw a need, an opportunity. So I started a company. I hired my first employee. I hired my second employee. And when we had enough business for me to jump ship essentially from my current position, I jump shipped into the organization I started. So fun fact, I was actually the third employee in the company I started when I was 20.
Wow.
So 26 years later, it was about 5-6 years ago, Julian, that I sat down and, 20 years into the business, and I'm a big believer in leadership coaching and sharing information. And what I found out is that the right succession plan can take anywhere between 3 to 10 years. It's not, you can't just wake up one day and say, okay, it's time to sell. There's a lot of preparation, a lot of understanding. So about 5 years ago, I started to go down the journey that, okay, I need to start talking about succession planning. And it's not about retirement, but how do I prep the company to be sold or to be acquired, essentially. And it started essentially 5 years ago, where I looked at MBU, I saw our flaws. One of the best things I ever did, which is one of the biggest recommendations I give anyone, is there's a cost to it, but I essentially got an evaluation done on my Micro Umbrella. And why I did that is because it gives you all the little dirty challenges you don't see. Someone comes in and audits your company and they give you the truth. And really that was the beginning of our journey on how we're going to start prepping for succession.
That's an interesting point, to do an early evaluation, even before you go out to the market, right? Because you want to know where the skeletons are in a way and how to fix it. But it's also good for your business, right? It's almost like a best practice, must do type thing. Randall, any questions you want to kick this off with?
Well, I like that tip. It benchmarks your company so you know where you are, and then it for sure you I mean, I've seen it before. People wake up, that same scenario. They wake up and says, I want to sell the company. Who's going to buy it? But they've made no effort to prepare. And then they're very surprised when they get very lowball offers because the company's not worth anything if it's only basically on the shoulders of one person or if there's no signed contract. So there's so many things to be doing. I thought that was a great thing. And I'm a great example of what not to do because I've merged maybe 3 times. And those first few times, I've learned every single mistake in the book. And I wish I would have had that knowledge before. But hindsight is 2020. And those lessons really helped me to develop, the best version of the company when it was time to sell. So it's great sometimes to make mistakes early because when it counts, that's when you really want to make sure that you get the most value.
So welcome, Neil. Hope you woke up pretty early. You're good? All right.
It was the joy of joy. I was just about to come on and my router died. So I suddenly had to hurry through boxes to find an old router. But I'm here. I found one.
Welcome, Neil. Join the conversation as we go. So we're talking with Michael, and he recently sold his business, and we're digging into what that looks like. So, Michael, maybe a really cool thing is like when you did that first evaluation, right? What did you find that kind of surprised you?
I think it's pretty much what Randall just said. So, I talk to a lot of business owners. Like I'm very active in the community. I love sharing information. And I think the number one challenge we all had, especially people like me that started at 20 years old, there's been a lot of sweat and efforts and painful nights that we put into this business. But the fact is that numbers do all the talking. Your EBITDA does all the talking. Your net profits does all the talking. So what happened when I did that evaluation and BDO gave me a number, I'm like, what are you talking about? And I'm worth 10 times that. What are you talking about? And the fact is, it's the numbers didn't say that. My emotions did, my efforts did, the sweat did, but my numbers didn't, and the contracts didn't, and little things like that. So the first challenge was, Julian, that I had to kind of swallow my pride. I had to really take the punches and understand I have to make a choice. I can either stick to my pride and just, continue what I'm doing for the past 20 years, or I listen to, people like BDO and everyone else that says, we're not here to judge you. We're just telling you what your data is saying, and your data is saying this. I chose that. I chose to listen. I chose to rely on expertise that, that I wasn't extremely strong at the time. And I accepted the fact of the number.
And numbers can change. That's the beauty of numbers. Once you have a baseline, you can go up or down. So the easy part is trying to find the most valuable things to increase the numbers. What for you were those like low-hanging fruit, the first things you did to kind of make those numbers seem more attractive to a potential buyer?
Was the ARPU value. So ARPU, the rate per user. So in an MSP, so we all follow the same path. Like if you talk to 10 of us, we all have the exact same journey. And I have this great illustration that I should have brought in, but you start as a VAR and a consultant, and we sell you a computer and we bill you by hour. And then we brought in some cloud services, and then we brought in some managed services, and we continued this journey. So the first thing I noticed is that our pro services, our professional services project time was really, really high. And our MSP, our recurring revenue, wasn't where it should be, right? So the first journey I had to do is how do we increase our recurring revenue? Let's put all of our efforts to tell our clients that let's go on this proactive journey and raise it. Once we did that, Rando, we were all excited. Great, we're a 50-50 company, 50% products and services, 50% MSP recurring revenue. But what we found is that the rate, the ARPU value, wasn't where it should be. Right? So although we did a great job converting clients, we didn't convert the clients at the right rate. So then the next journey was going back to the MSP clients and saying, oh, okay, Well, it's time to add more proactiveness. It's time to add more kind of bells and whistles to support your business. And we went on the journey in raising the ARPU value, essentially.
Amazing. It's really true what you said. I mean, the numbers obviously don't lie, unless you got some really funny accountants. But generally, it's pretty easy to figure out, how to move numbers up, right? If your profit's low, drop your costs, sell more. Look at your operating expenses. I mean, it's all stuff you learn in business sort of 101, right? But as entrepreneurs, people kind of like, forget about that. Let's just go out there and sell. Neil, what's your experience in the field? You have a question for Michael?
Well, I've not so much a question at this point. Obviously, I've missed the first 5 minutes, so I'm running fast to catch up. But what I would say is it's that when I've worked with clients who are in the exit space, it's about having the exit as the plan. So you add that baseline evaluation. You go, this is what we were after today. That's not what I want. I want this. And then you have a journey, whether it's 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, or even 5 years, to get you from where you are to you want to be as quickly as possible. And so, like you said, you take the baseline. We know where we're starting from. We know where we want to go. And then we work out the smart way and the quickest way to get to where we want to be.
So you start with a kind of like a plan of what you want to sell. Did you do something like that, Michael? Like, here's what I want to sell and work your way back? Or did you figure, let's just max it out, see where it goes?
So that's, what I actually did is it more or less in line. It wasn't about my umbrella. I also got a personal financial planner. And I want to emphasize something about this. It wasn't a bank. It wasn't a share company, a mutual fund company. I suggest if you do this, look for, reach out to me. I'll give you the name of Julia, their company. They're great. They only do financial planning. The reason why I did that, Julian, is that I asked Julia to take a look at my life, look what I have, look the way we're living today, and where I want to be in the next 10, 15 years. And I think that was imperative for me to understand, because now I know personally what I need today and what I need in the next 10 years. And that gave me a lot more perspective in selling my company. So it made me understand what is the low end and what is the high end I'm looking to try to get for my company. A lot of people just think of the company itself and not kind of tie it back to their personal life. So I essentially did an evaluation. I did a financial planning. I get my two kind of metrics that I'm gauging on, and I went from there.
When you actually look at your plan from your financial, then it was a really great idea actually to look at your financial self and how do you want your business life to kind of match that, right? When you look at that plan, was there something that you saw that, I need did a number come up, like I need to have 5 million to be able to live in Florida and go crazy? What was that like?
Yeah, in my particular case, and this is another fun fact, I need to I want to retire on a vineyard. I mean, I want the last 10, 15 years of my life just sitting on a vineyard, having a glass of wine, some good cab or Merlots, or so one of my goals in life, whether I get there or not, was, hey, in 15 years, how can I sustain this type of lifestyle? And Julia did such an amazing job road mapping the possibilities, kids' university, other costs. And Michael, you're on track. And if you hit these 3 metrics in the next 5 years, you're pretty much on track to getting where you want. So knowing that and knowing what I can sell the business for, at the very least that I can sell the business for, it made the number palatable. It made it a bit more, okay, I get it. So at that time, I had to make a choice. When the opportunity came and F12 was interested in the share acquisition of My Blue Umbrella, and they were great, very, very supportive, incredible company so far. It was in that sort of bracket where I needed to be on my roadmap of my financial plan. So it worked out really, really well.
Well, I think,
sure.
I would like to ask.
I think, Rand, what I find very interesting there is it links into what we do within the platform, because what Michael's just talked about there, he's got a vision. He sees where he wants to be in the future, and he said that future isn't just at work; it's my home space as well. And then he's identified from that the steps and the stages which we need to go through. So I'm a great believer, whether it's running a sales team or running an entire business, what we want to do is always create the maximum opportunities for every stage of that journey. Too many people, and this is the trick I think that MSPs don't always get their heads around, is to capitalize on the benefit of being a business owner and saying, because I'm a business owner, this isn't a job. I've got all these other avenues, all these other angles which I can exploit. And that's what separates kind of the smarter business owner from the average business owner. And that doesn't always mean that the average business owner doesn't have a fantastic business with financial, brilliant revenue. But it could mean that Michael sat in there in his vineyard, enjoying his retirement. That other business, the MD's dropped dead at the board table of a heart attack because he's not prioritized outside of work.
After Randall makes his comment, I do want to go back to Neil's comment there, Julian, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Well, do the comment because I got something in a whole. It's another question. So before we veer off topic,
Neil, I couldn't agree more with what you said. I think, and I'm not sure if you joined us at this point. One of the biggest challenges we have is I'll repeat what I said just to make sure you understand where I'm going with this. Is as a young entrepreneur, starting at 20 years old, 26 years into it. When BDO gave me that number 5-6 years ago, I was in shock. I was like, no way, I'm worth double that, triple that. You know what I mean? You're completely wrong. You guys are insane. And I chose to come to the realization that the numbers are the numbers. They're showing me a path. Now I have to choose if I want to correct it or not. I think the other thing a lot of owners have a challenge with is they always feel they need to do it themselves. I won't coin these words. Ingram Micro, the TXA community there, introduced these words to me. Individually, we're all strong. Each four of us extremely strong. But if the four of us come together and put our minds together, collectively we're extraordinary. So with the number that I got in my acquisition, a share acquisition, I made a choice there. Individually, I knew I was strong. And today I'm worth X. Can I become bigger and stronger by myself? I'm sure I can. But I chose to accept the number because collectively with F12, I'm going to grow extraordinarily. And my number is going to keep on growing at a multiple faster than what I was going to be able to do myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And Randall, before you jump in there, just to continue that a bit, what are the differences between how you get your company sold in quotes, right? You got a share transfer of shares, right? You can merge together, right? You can sell it outright. What are some of the options, and what made you choose the one that you choose?
So another fun fact. So 26 years ago, my very, 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 very first client is a client still today, and they're a private equity firm. And the way it happened is about almost 2 years ago, I'm riding my Peloton at 6 a.m. and I get an email, a press release that my very, very first client, which is still a client today, made a equity investment into F12. And I just had a heart attack. I go, they're my marketing story. They're my first client. We talk about them in every pitch we do. So I'm texting my client saying, "Oh my God, what happened here?" Right? You bought one of our competitors. Well, not bought. You made an equity investment in one of our competitors, and we were lucky enough that 9-10 months later, F12 chose to partner up with us as well. So essentially, what made me choose F12, apart from Alex Webb, an incredible CEO, the company is incredible, 260 people across Canada, 2 different data centers, SOC 2 compliant data centers, one in Alberta, one in Toronto. So the platform itself of F12 was just extremely appealing. What was additional to that is that our first client is the private equity firm that invested in F12 as well. So it was like a complete full circle for me. And it was a calling. It was like, this makes total sense for me. So, I go back to that number. Was the number where I wanted it to be? No. Did I want it higher? Of course, we all want a higher number. But do I believe joining the F12 family in Alex's leadership, where we want to be, will my multiple go higher? Absolutely.
It's a smart move. Randall, now you can ask your question.
and I'm actually going to build on that because one of the and I learned by mistake, one of the biggest things when you do whether it's a merge, a selling of shares or an outright sale, there has to be a fit in terms of company culture. If you pick a company that does not align with your company culture, well, your clients might just slowly drift away, and that takes down the worth of your company. So, what did you do to ensure that you and F12 had the same company culture?
So that's absolutely a great question and a very extremely important comment. The cultures are essentially one of the most important ingredients to any partnership. So we got really lucky, Randall. When I say that everything was aligned, Alex and I were friends, we're colleagues. We worked together for the past 10, 12 years. We all belong to the same community at TXA, TrustX Alliance, and Ingram Micro. So essentially, all the entrepreneurs that F12 has acquired over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, we all know each other. We're not strangers to each other. We know each other for the past 10 plus years. So we know our cultures, we know our people, we know the employees because we belong to the same community. And I think it's because it's been over a decade that we know each other that it just, just the other day, Devin, our CMO, absolutely an incredible guy to work with. He says, Michael, I have to be honest with you. I know it's only been 3 months, but it feels like you've been around for 2 years. Like I have to remind myself that you guys just joined because it just seems like you've been here for 2 years. And that's the culture. Our cultures are just so alike that we just fit in like a glove, essentially.
Yeah, it's really true. You definitely have to sync that up. When you have your staff out there, right? And they kind of sense maybe, Michael is going to be selling this business out. How do you kind of keep your employees sort of like let's keep going type thing, or is it like oh well, maybe there's no room for me in the future? How do you make that work?
So I you know what, and you're bringing up a very valid point because this was a bit a bit of a challenge for me to accept. So I was extremely open. When I kicked off that evaluation 5 years ago, I sat my entire company, not just the leadership team, and I said, "Hey, Kate, okay, guys, this is where we are today. This is where I want to be. I want to be over $35 million in the next 5 years. We're $8 million today." And we, like Randall, we bought some smaller companies. We acquired some smaller companies, which wasn't, I don't know Randall's experience, but our experience wasn't the right move. It was a lot of break fix clients, a lot of smaller clients, a lot more noise than we wanted. But throughout the entire journey, Julian, I made sure I told the team, I said, listen, we're the ones acquiring today, but eventually I want to either merge with equal value or be acquired by a greater value, because that's the progression we're going down. So I was always extremely transparent. And when this came about, statistically 30% of your staff jump ship. And I'm like, no way, not my blue umbrella. We've been together for 16, 17 years. Some people have been there for 21 years. I've been extremely transparent for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And our cultures are the same. Our visions are the same. It ended up that, we lost about almost 30% of our staff because they didn't want to take the journey. And I'm not sure why. It's just some people just didn't want to continue. But it seems no matter how much effort you put in, Julian, there's always going to be some of the members that just don't see it or don't want to continue that kind of journey.
You just can't please everybody, but at the end of the day, it's the entity, right? You got to create something that's going to live on and become bigger, better, stronger, and because that's the way you grow, right? Unless you get so lucky and develop some crazy product, right, that everybody wants, right? That's the way we have to grow, either organically or through acquisitions. And there's a lot of acquisitions happening. I mean, that's like a daily thing today. And I think as we move forward in this channel, acquisitions is something that has to be, if not at the very top of your list, very close to, because it could impact how you run your business. Like, telcos just bought up another large MSP, and this thing is sort of like spinning up, and everybody's got to be a little bit bigger, right, to compete in that arena, right? Do you find that in the world of mergers and acquisitions, do you think it's this race is on, like we got to be bigger to be able to compete? What does that feel look like?
Absolutely. I think we're in an era right now, especially post-pandemic, what we went through in the last couple of years. Definitely the smaller MSPs are going to have the biggest challenges. So M&As is the key right now to kind of not just surviving, but to scaling your MSP practice. I encourage everyone, especially in the MSP world, to look at M&As, look at partnering up. If you're not ready for an M&A, just maybe partner up with other organizations, join communities like TXA or Tech Select or whatever it is. Share notes, share information, because we are going into an era or a time that I think it's going to be extremely competitive. And what I will say, Julian, is this competition is not going to be just about price. This competition is going to be about strength, agility, who has the talent, who has the vision. I think what happened with the pandemic is that the pandemic has woken up the CEOs once again and realizing that they took too much of a step away from their IT department and relied on the team. What we do at F12, what I'm personally working on myself, is there's a massive gap between the business strategy and the IT strategy. And what we need to do is realign these two strategies, because right now, no matter how big or small the client is, the CEO is building this incredible vision, and they're looking to build an incredible company, and their IT department is lagging quite a bit because they just don't understand that vision. So what I'm working on is trying to bridge that gap between the two worlds.
The work continues.
One thing I find interesting, by the way, F12 on a Mac is to increase the volume. And, how appropriate that by joining forces with F12, you're able to amplify or even increase the volume of services. How has that benefited your clients? Because sometimes we're scared that our clients, will drop us in that journey because they're afraid of that unknown. But how has Emerge with like F12 helped your clients have even more services or amplify their business?
Yeah, it is really the scalability. Having 260 employees, I think we're at 260 or 270 right now. Having a frontline help desk that as the smaller MSP, we all do every department one way or another. At F12, with that kind of size of a team, we really have specific swim lanes that we all excel at. And the one great thing I always tell people, well, how did this benefit you in particular, Michael? It got me to do what I really love to do and what I really focus on, and that's helping clients right now. So what our clients, MBU clients, got was really, really good swim lanes now to support their business.
When you embarked on this journey, and now you've got the company, you've got the investor company, kind of put the two together. What was that experience like? So you enter the room, you meet up the folks at F12, you shake, you have a coffee or beer. How did it kick off? Are we working towards like, this is what you're worth, and but I'm gonna like upsell you a little bit in what I think I'm really worth? How did that work out? How was that negotiation?
I think Julian, in my particular case, it was a little different because I did do that move 5 years ago. I did do the BDO evaluation, so I kind of been through it already, and then I also did a few acquisitions, which, Julian, without mentioning names, we acquired a $3 million 30-year-old company, and the net worth of purchase was very, very small, because there was no MSP, there was no recurring revenue, there was no substantial business there. So, having that experience of acquiring certain companies, going through the BDO evaluation 5 years prior, it made the negotiation a little easier because I was a lot more understanding. It wasn't just no way, I want more. So there was some negotiations, but not as much as the typical company will go through. And you know, the other fact is that we all knew each other. So you know, again, the CEO Alex Webb, a friend of mine, you know, we had to fix some data, we had to restructure some data, and he literally, and I mean this literally, held my hand and walked me through certain tasks that he learned over his tenure of being a CEO, and says, you know, Michael, structure it this way. You know, your data's there, it's just not structured the way we need it to be. And he helped me hand by hand, week by week, sitting with me and saying, okay, let's do this, let's do this. So the journey was amazing. I learned so much. And now, apart from being the business innovation executive, helping clients bridge that gap, I'm actually part of the M&A team as well. So I'm working alongside with Alex and the private equity company, you know, acquiring other companies. So, you know, we're really looking to expand in Canada. We're trying to double in size. So, you know, today we're I think 47 million. We're looking to go north of 100 million. So what I love even more is that all that experience from the first BDO evaluation to this, to the acquisitions I did, and to this acquisition, now I get to continue and pass that on to other companies and help them out as well.
So other MSPs, if you're listening up, take a number, give Michael a call. So you've got this process. The negotiation looks like it went very smoothly, right? Everything went well, and now you sign up those documents. And did you go and have a nice little glass of wine? Like, what was your feeling once you put that document and signed it? What was it like?
You know, it was December 1st. We're going into Christmas season. I didn't know how to tell my family. So, you know, I'm not trying to promote my book, but in one of the chapters I talk about I work a lot, but I never work at home. And what I mean by that, I always work at home. I'm constantly working at home, but I never bring work home. So, you know, my daughter's 20 years old. My twins are 7 years old. My wife. It's only until the book came out that they actually really knew what I did, because I never ever spoke about work at home. They only see me on the laptop, and so how do I now tell them? You know, they just figured out what I did in life. Now, by the way, I just sold, you know, one of the largest companies I own, and it was confusing, liberating, and at the same time, a ton of excitement, because where we want to be, you know, where F12 wants to go, and you know, the expansion across Canada, and the ceilings that we're trying to hit for are incredible. So it was great, and at the same time, and energizing for 2022 to come in. And I just wanted the month to go by. Come on, let's do this. Let's do this.
So you didn't consult with your wife when you sold it? Okay.
Not that I didn't consult. My wife is honestly, we have a great partnership. She is the rock of the house. She is the CEO of the house, and you know, without my wife, I probably wouldn't be where I am today. When it comes to the businesses, or the business in particular, this one, you know, she gives me that leash and says, "Listen, you know, we
I get it.
So go for it."
I want to talk a little bit about mindset. There's a certain mindset you need when you're taking over a company, but I think it's a very different mindset when you're being absorbed into a bigger company, and you have to be willing to let things go. For example, I remember the first merge I did, I could not let my original company name go. It was so deep ingrained into my persona, this CompuQuest name that I bought into. I actually merged the company, became CompuQuest, and that was me. I could not let that go. What did you have to let go to get into this bigger company and get that right mindset to make this flow work? This new marriage, so to speak.
You know, so I'll give you two types of answers for that. I'll talk about the name first, because the name was very dear to me. You know, for the longest time, people always ask me, you know, why My Blue Umbrella? Like, you know, you're an IT company, like, you don't sell umbrellas. And honestly, Randall, we won contracts. I mean, at least half a dozen just based on our name, where companies will say, listen, we don't get why you called yourself My Umbrella, so we just have to try it. We have to try it. And so I will say, as an entrepreneur, and Randall, I started many other businesses. I still own many other businesses. As an entrepreneur, I learned very early that I live by the words art of possible. And when you live by art of possible, you're less tied to the name and more tied to the possibility of what's next. So the name, as much as I love, and I don't own it anymore, it's more the art of where we're going and what we're going to create that I'm in love with, that as an entrepreneur, I'm super excited about. As an employee, because there's a very big distinction, Rando, that's the other next big thing that CEOs and entrepreneurs have to get used to. You own a company, but you're still an employee. You still need to do something for the company. As an employee, it's still, in full transparency, still a little confusing. What I was lucky enough to do during that BDO evaluation, I also learned what you just said, Randall. If I don't let go, if I don't empower, then my succession will never exist. I would like to believe, if we had the leadership team or the integration team on the call right now from F12, they'll probably say we were one of the first companies that Michael didn't have his hands tied in every single department. They didn't have to run to me and say, hey, Michael, what's the answer? The odd times that they did come to me, I would say, slice glue. We have to ask the service manager. So I would say, in part of my succession plan in the last 6 years, 5-6 years, Randall, I empowered tremendously the service manager to do the job. I empowered the sales manager to do the job. And this integration, again, if we had the F12 integration team, is probably one of the fastest integrations F12 did in all of their acquisitions, because we had the empowerment of the entire MBU team that took the lead and was able to help.
That's great advice. I love it.
That's another interesting point too, as well, because when you run your business on the best practices and you empower people to do the job, you're automatically building value. A lot of companies, they look and think of best practices and proper management and so on as like, yeah, it's cool stuff, but let's just sell, right? But in reality, that management infrastructure, that the ability to have your whole team help you move forward a business is the engine, right? That is the fuel that kind of gets you better valuation, isn't it? I mean, it's all about the team at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah. I think Randall already touched on this. There's the organic growth and there's the M&A. And even with organic or M&A, I look at there's many reasons why a company gets acquired, but I would say first and foremost, it's the team. It's the team. From the team is the IP, if you have any IP, and third is the clients, the revenue, right? It's the revenue. But if you don't have a good blend between those three, and mostly the team and the clients, I'm not sure how successful your acquisition is going to be. So even if I had less of an IP, but it's really, really strong team, which I had, and really, really, really strong clients and ARPU values, the acquisition was really, the merit for the acquisition was there. So I would definitely think the team is essential to the ingredients as well.
There are always blind spots. When you're driving, there's always a blind spot. And it's often afterwards that you realize what was there that you missed. After going through this experience, were there any blind spots that now you're aware you wish you would have known before undergoing this journey?
Yeah, I'm going to get a little personal here, and please don't judge me on this. I think it was a blind spot, but in all honesty, I knew about the blind spot. I didn't want to accept the blind spot. Randall, I was very taken back on the team members that didn't go through the journey. Randall, we've been together for 15 plus years. We grew up together. They're family, they're friends, And you know, because we're so transparent through the entire 5-year journey, when some of these team members that, you know, were part of this decision, when they jumped ship, we weren't surprised that they jumped ship, right? Because
Correcto.
that was the blind spot, right? And I needed to accept that blind spot, and I couldn't accept the blind spot. So it was less about a blind spot and more about accepting that there was something there that I just didn't want to accept.
Interesting. The one thing which I've picked up from you, what you said so far, Michael, which was really good, was actually getting that perfect match with the buyer, both culturally and obviously at the price level. Because I was involved with mergers and acquisitions a few years back with J2 Global, and I came across when they bought their fuse mail division into Europe. And then a very different approach. We were buying up lots of businesses, but one business would be like, actually, we want your technical manager and your clients. Another one, we want your building, but we don't want any of your staff. And so literally, I've gone in to a building and literally said, hi, welcome to J2 Global. The bad news is you will be made redundant today. And so it's not always a smooth journey. So I think the other thing is, if you're looking at mergers and acquisition, make sure you understand the journey the partner wants to take the new entity on.
Yeah, 100%. You guys, you definitely have to compare notes of current and the future possible partnership, where it's going. I will say, Neil, you know, and we at F12, we like all three. You know, we like, you know, acquisitions that want to be part of the journey, and we explain it, and we also like acquisitions where, you know, the entrepreneur had enough. They put in their, you know, tenure that, you know, they feel that they did what they have to do and they want to walk away. And the last one, not more or less like a merger, but it feels like a merger where you're part of the team. You want to really grow with it. So you know, the great thing about F12 is that they really embrace whatever sort of roadmap you're looking for when it comes to an acquisition.
Interesting. Michael, if you put yourself in a kind of a typical MSP out there, right? And, you know, they're doing, I don't know, let's say 3-5 million a year. They're doing, you know, half of that, let's say, is a recurring revenue. And they're thinking about, yeah, you know, it's time I either merge, cash out, get out, whatever that looks like. How would you advise them to approach it? Like, be like open to all options, or I just want to sell and get out? How would you advise them to approach it?
Yeah, you know, Julian, it goes back to I don't want to keep on emphasizing Spring Financial, my financial planner, Julia, but it really goes back to where do you want to be? Like, where are you today? Where do you need to be tomorrow? So, you know, I'm 47, turning 48. I have a 20-year-old daughter in university. I have 7-year-old twins, 2 boys that are disastrous, but, you know, they still have a long road to go. I need my journey still. I need that roadmap still. So in my particular case, I had to decide, again, do I want to do this on my own, individually strong, or do I do it with a company like F12 and be collectively extraordinary? I think what other entrepreneurs really need to look at is not just the journey, where they are and where they're going to be, but the makeup of their organization. Understand their data. I can't tell you how essential that is. So we talk about recurring revenue, and what does recurring revenue mean to that organization? Is it just a bunch of Office 365 licensing that they're signing month over month? Or is it traditional MSP L1, 2, and 3 support? Is it infrastructure support? So as a young entrepreneur, I have to tell you, Julian, you know, when the first time someone took a look at my GL, I was one of those entrepreneurs. I waited for QuickBooks, the little bubble to pop up and say, oh, that's the GL I pick. Okay, that's great. I must have had like 30 GLs. You know, over the transition of getting my data ready, I'm down to only 5 GLs, right? Very specific on what we're doing. So what I would say is that they really need to understand their data, because the multiple reflects the data. It's not as easy. Oh, I want, you know, 6x, 7x, 10x. Well, on what? What X on what data? On your products, on your pro services, on your multiply, on your MSP revenue, your recurring. So they need to understand. The sooner they understand their data, the sooner they'll start accepting that number.
I got one more question on the people of it. It's interesting because so you've come to the point, you've merged together in a way, right? And now the teams come together, right? What does that look like, and what do you say to both sides, right? Do you guys have a party? Do you have like a tug of war match, like the survival of? How does that look like to bring the two sides together? Because we talk often about cultures of companies, but in reality, a culture of a company is a mixture of individual cultures, right? Of the people. I don't subscribe to the whole model of a culture of a company per se. I think more it's a mixture of all the people within that, microcosms of cultures, if you will, that when blended together makes this cocktail that might taste well or might not taste well. How do you bring those teams together and help them, not take out the knives?
Yeah. So I would say it starts first and foremost with some core values. Like, to us, core values were essential. It's who we are, how we governed each other. And Julian, in our pitches to our clients, we show our clients our core values, but we show our clients our core values because we actually tell them that's how we judge them, right? We're judging our relationship bidirectionally on our own core values, because that's the only way we can harbor a really strong partnership. So the way our cultures have to come together is first and foremost understanding core values. And I kind of line in the same side as you when it comes to culture. Again, I'm not promoting the book, but in my book, I talk about culture. Sometimes we need to bring it back to basics. Culture is at the end of the day, it's accountability. What we're generating in performance and accountability. And it's so funny when you have a smaller company and we don't have a lot of accountability, we don't have a lot of performance, we're having so much fun. It's great. Let's get the ping pong table, let's go drink and all that. And then we get the bigger clients and the bigger demands and the bigger performance. And all of a sudden the ping pong table disappears. We can't play it as much because we have so much demand and we have to hit this. And all of a sudden, people start thinking, oh, we have such a bad culture. Well, no, not necessarily. We have a bad. We're really performing well. We have a lot more accountability. So the way I did at MBU is I made sure to understand at the end of the day, our cultures, our core values, our understanding of how we're going to be accountable to each other and how we're going to perform with each other. And then what we did when we went into the F12 family, we kind of shifted that sort of mentality in the same kind of respect, because they follow the same, not necessarily directly as I said it, but essentially the same sort of way. Their core values is essential. We all kind of embrace that as a key element in bringing our cultures together. The other thing I would say is our offices. We have an office A, office B. We're tremendously trying to bring these two offices together, because when you have two different homes and two different teams, there's always going to be kind of the he said, she said, or that office, this office. So it's essential that slowly. We joke around, but we make it an F12 Wednesday day. So every Wednesday, I brought the entire team to the F12 office, and we hang out there and we work from there. And you can see week over week is coming out to be really, really good. It's people are getting more comfortable. We're laughing with each other, joking around with each other, and slowly we'll integrate even more.
It's an important thing, because I think after the deal is done, right now, I think is when the real hard work starts. Right? How do you blend the two families together, figure out who does what, who is encroaching in whose territory? A lot of people are, personalities type clashing and so on. So there's still always work to be done. But I do want to talk about your book now. So where is that book of yours? So Michael wrote a book. I don't know how you find the time with all the kids and all the drinking and the working and stuff. How do you find the time to write a book? And tell me about this book.
So the book, the bottom line, essentially, I did it was a fun leadership chat with Ryerson University about the book, and it ended up that my daughter goes there and my two nephews, and they were on the call, which was really cool. I get to see my daughter's name and my nephew's name. So essentially, what the book is about, Julian, honestly, it's not a revelation. It's what I believe are the basic necessities to be successful. And these are aspects about being on time. My sister was going on a job interview the other day, and she was 20 minutes early. She goes, what do I do? What do I do? Do I just sit in my car? And I said, no, you go in and, sit in the lobby if you have to, but don't go in 2 minutes before. And one of the chapters about being on time. I can't tell you, that's one of my biggest pet peeves, right? Is when, and that's bi-directional, even with clients. If I'm sitting in a client's boardroom and they're half an hour late, I make sure I let the client know. It's like, hey, I know you're the client, but my time's valuable as well, right? So the book, Julian, is really the basic necessities that we all have that we tend to forget. And what I wanted to do is I want to remind other entrepreneurs, other business leaders, hey, this is what got us successful in the first place. And it's easy to forget these aspects in life. And for new entrepreneurs, it gives them a head start. It's just, follow these 10, 12 things, and I guarantee you'll be successful.
Sounds like good advice. So Neil, remember about being on time. And Michael, you have a copy of the book that you could show up, or do you have a copy of the book?
No, not here.
Well, you can probably get it on Amazon, I would assume, or
yeah. You even go to my website, deliversimplicity.ca.
Deliversimplicity.ca. Well, I agree. Everybody's got to read the right books, and definitely for someone who's gone through the experience, I'd want to get into your head, like what makes Michael tick. Like, what is your favorite wine, and why is that? And you kind of like grew it to a point where you've put your thoughts down. It's almost like your journey you've documented. So I would recommend all MSPs, get a copy and check it out. Even the part, regardless of what you want to do, right? Just to understand the mindset of how MSPs are thinking. Neil?
Yeah, I think what I add in there, June, as well, what I find very interesting is that we need to listen more to people like Michael who have done it, because, like he said, what he's put in his book, and I've not read it yet. I've just ordered it, by the way, so I've just put it on Kindle. But one thing which I picked up is I was at a conversation a little while ago now with Gary Turner, who was the outgoing CEO for Xero in Europe, and he talked about exactly the same points that Michael's raised about the importance of culture, about challenging your clients as much as they challenge you. So I think what we need to see within the MSP community is actually listen to the people who've actually done the hard work and actually act upon it. Because the amount of time people hear this stuff and you go, what have you done with it? And the answer is, well, I've read another book. It's like, no, listen. And then think it's about opportunity. So I build the culture, I understand my numbers, and then I think, do I honestly want an exit strategy for my business? Which we all need, because we all leave at some point. You retire, you sell it, you die. There's no fourth option. So once we've done that, then you can go back and say, now I've got a valuation, now I can build a strategy. So, I bang up on it every single time on these calls, but it's like, actually, we've got, I'm following in consultancy cliches, but it is a consultancy cliche. If we're not planning to succeed, you're already planning to fail. And too often, as a business owner, we live our life in reactive mode, rather than saying, let's take the knowledge from people like Michael, so we don't have to reinvent that wheel, and then get proactive with it.
That's great. I think another thing that we learned today was that, selling your company is not a sprint, it's a marathon. There's a lot to do. And you cannot show up at the last minute expecting to win a marathon. You have to start your training well in advance. So I think the lesson that we can all get in this, something that Michael said at the beginning is join a community. And what better community than the Channel Partner Alliance to meet fellow MSPs that you could maybe one day join. And the second thing, you talked about even gathering of minds, mastermind, another thing we do. But I think the biggest thing is start training for that marathon now. Start thinking about where you want to go and start taking those steps to incrementally build up your business, build up those contracts, build up those recurring services, find out where you want to go, or do like Michael did, get your company evaluated. That was a brilliant idea. I loved it early on. And then you can see that'll be your benchmark. And then you can see what you need to do to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, I think those are amazing points we brought up today. And sometimes, we don't want to do things where people pull out pages and talk numbers as well. And here's a number. That's the stuff you can get the financial folks to do. We're talking about the mindset, right? What does it take as an MSP going through this journey of moving from VAR to MSP to whatever, is going to be next? This new ecosystem that is developing all around us, with a combination of transactional and non-transactional partners, and how all these people coexist. When you look at selling your company, it's not an end game, right? It's maybe just a pit stop in the journey, right? When you sell your company, I mean, it's not really that you want to retire and go fishing or something, right? It's about how do you improve, your life, your journey, and leave a dent, And it is personal. Selling anything that you worked in for like 20, 30 years is personal, no matter how you detach from it. You want to find a good home. You don't want to see your baby go to whatever, right? We got just a few minutes left, and I'm going to give the last word to Michael. What have you learned after this experience, now that you had some time to digest it and chilling with your family, hanging out in the pool in Florida? What's your takeaway?
So I would say you gave me the perfect segue into it, and it's not, no pun intended, but it's not the end. It's simply the new chapter. It's another version or new series. I'm extremely excited the journey I embarked on. I'm extremely excited on what F12 and the MBU team is going to do in the next 3 to 5 years, and I empower, as Julian said earlier, for any other MSPs out there that you want to pick my brain, you want to have a discussion one-on-one, how I can help you get to the point where you want to get to, please reach out to me.
I think we're going to have to do a masterclass with just Michael for the folks in the Channel Partner Alliance. One of the things why we actually created this Channel Partner Alliance is basically to kind of find a place for every MSP who is sort of out there, not sure what to do, to come together and figure out how to improve their game. And this master chat is one of those things we do every couple of Tuesdays to kind of share, things, not just between us, but also from interesting people like Michael, and to give them a bigger, wider, deeper perspective of being part of this channel partner ecosystem, but also give them a bit of a roadmap. It's really cool for someone to get up there and say, me, here's how I do this, yada, yada, yada. But giving them a roadmap on how they could achieve the same thing is just as cool. I want to thank you, Michael, for sharing your thoughts today. I think it's really important that the MSP community understand that you've got to build towards something, right? I think we had a lot of great takeaways and advice here. If they were to listen to this, I have to think that somewhere in there, they're going to see, a pathway towards moving to the next level. And as you said, write your own chapter, right? Everybody's got the next chapter. So this is one chapter that you could take some points from, but write your own chapter. Look forward to it.
I also think we should take advantage of Einstein in the background there. Don't ignore the numbers. Those calculations will really be, the biggest thing you can do for your company. Look at the numbers.
There you go. Neil, thank you for joining us. And Randall again, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure. Awesome stuff. We'll exit off. And to everybody, enjoy yourself.
Thank you.
Until next time.